Welcome everybody to my new 3-part video series, the top 15 wrestling cliches that bug the hell out of me. So let's just go ahead and get this started. Number 15. Okay. Draws in contenders matches that result in multi-man championship matches. This one's kind of a tough one to explain, but I'll go ahead and do my best. We've had some recent examples of it, which is why it's on the list. Think back to a few weeks ago when Cena and R-Truth were having their match. Miz caused a no contest, and it wound up setting up a 3-way for Extreme Rules. TNA, same thing. They had RVD and Mr. Anderson have a contenders match, ended in a draw. Both of them wound up getting the title shot at Lockdown. Can anybody name me a case where a contenders match ended in a draw, and it didn't result in both guys getting the title shot? I can't. I honestly can't recall that ever happening. And it's one of those cheap tricks that they use to try and build drama. It's like, ooh, how is this going to be resolved? But it's not really all that dramatic because we know exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be a 3-way. That's exactly what's going to happen. There's nothing shocking or surprising about it. We know exactly where it's going to go because it's the same story that's been told 100 times. And in the WWE example, it's even worse when the heel champion causes the no contest. Because obviously he's doing it because he doesn't want to face either guy, but it bites him in the ass because he winds up having to face both of them in a 3-way. Again, it doesn't really work because it's like the worst evil plan ever, because can anybody name me a case in history where the heel did that and it worked? He didn't have to face both guys. No, it never works. There's no dramatic element to it. And again, I also feel like it kind of betrays the sports mentality that I think pro wrestling should have in this day and age, where winners should advance because that's how other sports operate. Winners should qualify for championships, and that's how it should work. If you didn't win the match, you shouldn't get the title shot. And that's just my opinion, whether it's a draw or you lost or whatever. But that's just how I feel. Again, it's just one of those cases of repetition that's been done so often that there's just nothing shocking about it when they do it, and I would hope that WWE and TNA would stop doing it from now on. 14. The automatic rematch clause. This one bugs me for a few reasons. Number one, it's overly repetitious. There are a lot of cases where they'll build up a main event, and let's say at a WrestleMania, and then the next 2 or 3 pay-per-views you're going to get that same main event over and over and over again, and it's just repetitious and boring, and it doesn't really develop the story or anything. Usually the only thing they really change is the gimmick to try and pass it off as something different when it's really not. So there's that problem. There's the problem that they build up a match for a pay-per-view, and then they'll give away the rematch for free on TV the next night. In the case of Monday Night Raw, it would be the next night or the next week or something like that. And that's annoying because I feel like, why should I waste my money on a pay-per-view match when you're just going to give me the rematch for free a few days later or a week later? Something to that extent, you know? Again, you're asking a lot of me to pay all this money for a pay-per-view than just to blow off the rematch right away. And another problem I have with it is that it creates the illusion that championships are really easy to win nowadays in wrestling. And part of the reason I feel championships don't really mean anything anymore is because of how easy they are to get. If somebody loses the championship, oh, well, I've got an automatic rematch clause. That was part of the problem I had with what they did at Extreme Rules, where I felt like Cena winning the belt, Cena getting the title shot at Miz right away in the first place, just made it seem like Rock's actions at WrestleMania had no consequences. If they wanted to really sell that as a big deal, that Rock screwed Cena out of the title, then it should have been extra hard for Cena to get back into the title picture, just to make it seem like Rock actually negatively affected Cena in some way. But no, it's like, he's going to get a rematch next month anyway, so it doesn't matter. You lose the title, it doesn't matter, you get a rematch the next night. And it's just one of those things that annoy me, especially if the match is a really big one and a really good one. You can get some mileage out of building up a rematch over a long course of time, I think. I know Hogan and Rock wasn't a title match, but they did the match at WrestleMania 18, and then they waited almost a year to do the rematch. And that to me, is the more appropriate way to go. It's like, if you have a really big match that you think people will be excited to see, and they pay for it once, you know, you could probably get a lot of mileage out of building a build-up, or for a rematch. You know, I'm just throwing ideas out there, but yeah, let's move on to the next one. Unlucky number! Mark Henry, Mason Ryan, Skip Sheffield, Ezekiel Jackson, Tyson Tomko, Luther Reigns, Gene Snitsky. If we want to use a TNA example, Rob Terry. All these guys that promoters seem to get behind for whatever reason. These big, muscled up, strong heel guys that can put on a scary face, and they're usually put in squash matches where they kill people. Now, I hate these characters because the main problem with them is that there is no character. They're just a big guy, a big muscled up guy that anybody could play. Anybody with that same physique could do that same role. I could go down to a gym, pick out 10 bodybuilders, and have them fill the same spots that are being filled by a lot of these guys out there today, and nobody would know the difference. Case in point, when Nexus originally formed, they had Skip Sheffield in the group. You know, he's the big guy. He went down to an injury. They put Ezekiel Jackson in his place when it was time to form the core. Can anybody tell the difference? Seriously, they even look the same. I mean, can anybody honestly tell the difference? Like, would there be a difference if Skip Sheffield was in that spot over Ezekiel Jackson? No. They're interchangeable. It's more of a, I don't know, like a spot that they've created. It's like, oh, generic monster heel. They kill people every now and then. We'll try to push them, but it never works because they're boring. And I think they think if they give them the same treatment that somebody like the Ultimate Warrior got, or Goldberg, or Sid Vicious got, it'll work and they'll get over. What they don't realize is that Ultimate Warrior, Goldberg, and Sid Vicious, despite their limitations as workers, had unique characters and unique presentations that made them stand out. There was nobody like the Ultimate Warrior at the time. There was nobody like Goldberg at the time. Sid Vicious was revolutionary for big men in the business. And even in the 80s, when most of the big men were just big fat guys, you know, King Kong Bundy, Bam Bam Bigelow, Earthquake, they were all different. It wasn't just the same person or the same generic traits, same generic movesets over and over and over again. Each one brought something different to the table, and each one was their own different, unique character. And that's not what you're seeing with a lot of the big guys now. Rob Terry, I could put any big, muscled-up, roided-up dude in that role, and nobody would know the difference. And it takes someone special to really stand out as a big guy, especially in this day and age where big guys get bitched out so much. So it's like, yeah, they try to get them over, but then, like Mason Ryan this week, he got a double choke slam from Kane and Big Show, basically negated what happened the week before. So it's like, well, all right. So you don't even like consistently book them dominantly when you try to push them. So they have that working against them too. It's just a boring character type that's just generic, uncreative, and I'm just sick of seeing it. Let's try and find guys that are actually talented rather than just going back to the same wells. Oh, he has a body. He's big and strong. We can make a monster heel out of him and it'll get him over, even though it almost never works if the guy's not talented. The number of Land Before Time sequels. Okay, this one's a problem with consistency, making up the rules as you go. It really annoys me when wrestling companies break their own rules just for the sake of telling a story, because you're not really enhancing the story, you're just creating plot holes and breaking your own rules. For example, the Miz-Cena match from the Rock birthday episode of Raw. How can the referee reverse the decision and say that Miz hit Cena with the belt to win the match if he didn't see it? Because the rule always was the ref can't call it if he didn't see it. Well, that precedent got thrown out the window because he didn't even see a replay of what happened. So it's kind of like, well, Miz kind of got screwed there. He's like, the ref can't call it if he didn't see it. That was always the rule, but they abandoned that rule just to go with whatever story they wanted to go with. You see it a lot in title matches where the fight will go out into the crowd, even if it's not a no DQ match, and they'll say, oh, the referee's being lenient with the rules now. Like, well, why? It's just annoying that they don't follow the set structure of rules that they create. And I feel like this problem would be remedied if WWE and TNA created a rule book and actually stuck to the rule book. and fans could actually know what the rules are, because they break their own rules so often. I guess it kind of gets tough to follow after a while. But yeah, I guess that's just the kind of guy I am. I expect some level of consistency and following of the rules that they created within the fictional universe that's being presented to us. But yeah, let's just move on to the next one. Double one, twice the fun. I kind of alluded to this earlier when I talked about the automatic rematch clause, but it's really part of a much larger problem. Championships and title shots are so easy to get nowadays that's a major reason why the championships don't matter anymore, especially on the lower level. IC, US, Tag Team, and in TNA we call that the TV title. It's so easy to get shots at them that people really don't care if you have the belt or if you're even fighting for the belt. If you want an IC or US title shot, all you have to do is be mad at the champion. Doesn't matter what your win-loss record is, doesn't matter what you did before that, as long as you're mad at the champion, that justifies you getting a title shot. It really helps if you sneak attack them. Then you're guaranteed a title shot within 2 weeks. If you want a tag title shot, just find a partner and you'll get one within a couple weeks. TNA just did it with Matt Hardy. WWE does it all the time. And there seems to be this backwards logic where they seem to think, oh, if we just put a belt on somebody, that'll make people care about them. TNA did it with Gunner. Nobody knows who Gunner is, and now we're supposed to care because he's the TV champion. Doesn't work like that. You gotta build somebody up to the title. It makes the title mean more if it's harder to get, and it feels like the wrestler worked for it, and he earned it through a series of victories and had an impressive win-loss record. If you build them up to the title, it'll make it mean more if they win it. Kurt Hennig, he didn't win the IC title right away. I think it took him, like a year and a half after his debut to win that belt? But he was an impressive performer, won a lot of matches, then he won the IC title, and he made the IC title mean something and made it feel like it was a worthy championship. Again, that's how you should do it. But nowadays, title shots come and go so quickly, and championships, jump around so much, and it's so easy to win them, that it really doesn't matter who's holding them anymore, and if I don't care who's holding the belts, I'm not going to care about the matches. Again, major problem, but yeah.